Have a seat.
All right, welcome Rotarians and guests to the 5,408th meeting of this incredible Rotary Club. Did you all see the wonderful slideshow behind me and hear the song that was dubbed, "We Are Rotary Family"? Again, a big thank you to Elaine Sullivan for writing the lyrics and to Suzanne St. John Crane for recording that karaoke version. And I have to say thank you to Carl Solis, my past president advisor, for the wonderful idea to do this looping slideshow. But of course, it's all predicated on the hard work of our IT team and the photographers to make that all come together. But we're going to try to do that once a month because I think it's pretty cool to remind us of all the great things that we've done. So let's welcome Sarah Klisch to lead us in song.
Good afternoon. Stand up, we're going to sing America the Beautiful. And I'm in my head trying to find the right pitch so that most of you can join me. So let's see how it goes. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of green, for purple mountains' majesty, of the fruited plains, America, God shed His grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood, from sea to shining sea. Thank you all.
Nobody knows it though.
I just mouthed the words because nobody wants to hear this voice. Thanks again, Sarah. And today we don't have any birthdays that fall on this Wednesday, but we have a whole host of Rotarian family members celebrating this week. So please wish them a happy birthday if you happen to see them. The greeting line was led by Sarah Klisch, who's the chair of the Lee Weimers Committee. You'll be hearing a presentation a bit later from her. And now I'd like to welcome our Red Badge members with the traveling Mike, Megan Tennisgetter, and Ann Webb. And brace yourself, Rotarians. We're going to ask for a small change in the run of show. IT and photography have asked that I go clockwise for introductions because since they're filming on Zoom, the back and forth is incredibly difficult to keep up with. So please, all stand at once after our Red Badgers have introduced themselves so they can make their way around the room. Megan.
Thanks, President Karen. I'm Megan Tennisgetter, CEO of Tennisgetter Construction, and my sponsors are Arthur Weisbrot and John Ball.
Happy 40th anniversary to Tennisgetter Construction and Development. That's a huge achievement. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Ann.
Thank you, President Karen. I am Ann Webb, originally from Ireland, as you can gather through the accent. And this is my last meeting as I'm moving to Bellevue, Washington tomorrow.
Aww. Thank you for being so active during your time here and participating in the barbecue and being such a joy and a spot of light. We wish you all the best in your move and a seamless integration into your new club.
Thank you.
If you are a visiting Rotarian or you have a guest, please stand to be recognized. All right, let's start with Mike Fulton.
Hello, President Karen. I'd like to introduce everybody to Brianna Frias. Brianna is a student at the I-House. She's from San Ramon, and she's here largely to hear the speaker. Her major is Justice Studies Criminology.
Very cool. Welcome to Rotary. We're glad you're here.
Hi, Phil Varney, Construction, and I have a guest who needs no introduction, Joe Sweeney.
He's back. He assures me that we remain one of his favorite clubs, and he's happy to be here. So great to see you. Desiree.
Desiree Escobar. My guest is Jorge Escobar. He is the Vice President of our union, Local 1587 for the Probation Peace Officers. Jorge Escobar.
And also your husband. Welcome, Jorge. We're glad you're here. All right, now it's that exciting time in our Rotary family when we have a new member introduction. So, Catherine Tompkinson, come on up and introduce Fred.
One more.
Wait.
Megan, run.
I messed up. We have another introduction over here. Thank you, David, and I'm sorry my eyes didn't see you. All right, come on up.
Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. It's my distinct pleasure to introduce new member Fred Buzza. I've known Fred, I think since you came straight out of law school, Santa Clara Law, so that's a while ago. And I want to tell you that he's going to make a terrific Rotarian. I've known him to be intelligent, committed, very thoughtful. And he shared a few very interesting facts with me when he was an undergraduate at Loyola Marymount, majoring in theology. He worked various jobs as a film protectionist, as a night manager at a truck stop on I-5, and there you go. And also at Big Five Sporting Goods, where he met a manager who put him on his path to community service. And I'm sure he's full of great stories to share with you. Give him a chance. Fred?
Thank you, Catherine. My name is Fred Buzo. My last name Buzo is actually in Spanish translated to mean underwater diver. I have no scuba divers in my family whatsoever. So my parents are from Mexico, my dad's from Guanajuato, my mom is from Sinaloa. Fun fact about my mom's family, in the 1920s, my great-grandparents rented a home to the Infante family, which included Pedro Infante, who was sort of like an Elvis and Frank Sinatra rolled into one in Mexico. So that was always an interesting story around dinner time. I myself was born in Hayward, but raised in Dos Palos, California. Dos Palos translated means two sticks, so now you know someone literally who's from the sticks. I was a troublemaker growing up, receiving several swats, or corporal punishment as they say, in elementary school. I played trombone and football in junior high and high school, and frequently, because my town was so small, I would have my football uniform on during halftime shows, and play my trombone. I love baseball, always played since I was a kid, but I played well into my 40s. I'm a lefty with a wicked curveball. I've been married for 27 years to Laura Buzo, have 3 children. My oldest lives in Edinburgh, Scotland. My son is a second lieutenant in the Army and is stationed in Germany. And I have a daughter in her 3rd year at the University of Tennessee. Go Vols. Inspired by certain people, historical figures in my life. One is St. Augustine. I had the opportunity to visit his grave in Pavia, Italy in 2012. I've also been inspired by Thomas Merton, and so I've spent a silent retreat for several days at a monastery in Kentucky where he used to live. And then also Jimmy Carter is also a great inspiration to me. And I just recently had the opportunity to visit his library and his boyhood home in Plains, Georgia, and I would recommend that to anybody. So thank you very much, and I hope to get to know you all soon. Thank you.
We're so glad you joined us, Fred. I've had the pleasure of knowing you for about a decade now, and it's great to have you with community service. So welcome to the club. Sarah Klish, come on up and talk to us about Lee Weimers. Just a gentle reminder, this is a meeting that you must RSVP for. There will be a table in the lobby with people from the committee to assist you, and you'll have many opportunities. The event is off-site at Hammer Theater on October 18th, and Sarah will tell us more.
So for those of you who are longtime members of this club, you know Lee Weimers was a very inspirational person for the club. He was also an inspirational person in our community. And this award was founded in his honor. This will be the 11th year. We have 4 amazing artists. We just had our meeting today talking with Lisa Millette about these artists and what they're going to be presenting to you. So I really strongly encourage not only that you attend, but that you invite others. This is a fantastic meeting to invite potential members and just people who love the arts because it's off-site, it's at the Hammer, it's got that whole theatrical feel to it. As President Karen said, a little bit different process than normal. Because the theater needs to have control over who's there, we cannot just allow you to walk in without registering. So we do very much need you to register on Eventbrite. We'll be out in the lobby to help you if that's something you're not familiar with, as well as for any of your guests. That is a separate process from the lunch order. I know it gets a little complicated, and I'm sorry, but the lunch order will be done as it is normally handled the week before, and if you are bringing guests and you would like them to have lunch, then you will need to order their lunch separately. Lunch will be served out on the patio outside. There'll be box lunches that day. We will have lunches available starting at 11:30 because the meeting will start promptly at 12:15 in the theater, and no food will be allowed in the theater. So with all those rules, I know, it's a super, super fun event. It's my favorite meeting of the year. Surprise. And I hope that you will all attend and bring as many people as you can. We'd love to fill that theater. Thanks so much.
Perfect, thank you. And a reminder that if you're not having lunch, it's free of charge to attend, but they just do need you to RSVP. So let's make sure we have a good showing for these emerging artists. And Big Boss here from the Rod Squad failed to introduce the CEO of the Duffy Diridon household and the CEO of the Commonwealth Club, Gloria Duffy, who's joined us today as well. I got your back, it's okay. All right, Brenda Sweeney, let's have an update on district events, please.
I love your scarf. Thank you.
This is the international scarf for Rotary this year.
Yes. The World of Hope, Hope for the World scarf. So anyways, I'd like to talk about district events. I think one of the ones that you may have heard about, which is coming up this Saturday, is the Avenues for Service. And that is basically the event where a lot of clubs get together and they share their projects, international and local. This year we have 27 different projects being displayed, one of which is Mark McKenna and our very own Rotary Climate Action Committee. So I'm very excited to see that, and I know other clubs are as well. Also, we're going to have, we're going to have Matt be our MC, and he's actually going to have an opportunity to display his auctioneering skills, because we're going to have a raffle, and we're going to have an auction, which we've never done before at this event. So I'm looking forward to seeing Matt show off his great skills. There he is, Matt, yes. And so if any of you, the registration is technically closed, but if any of you are interested in attending, let me know and I can get you in. Because I'm managing the registration, so there you go. Look at me. So then you have that. And then also for the next couple of months, there's just a couple of live events. One of them is the district leadership meeting, which is going to be on Zoom. So that's at the beginning of November 1st, and it's in the evening. The first part of the meeting is business, kind of what's going on in the district, different committees reporting out, things like that. And then at the end, they typically have more like activities or things like that. So in this case, they're going to do a Diwali celebration. They're going to have some kind of virtual games. I'm not sure what those are, so don't ask me too many questions. But that typically lasts a couple of hours. And since it's virtual this time, it's really nice if you want to kind of just go see like who's there and what goes on, because you don't have to get in your car and go anywhere. Every other month it is live, and they have it in different places in the Bay Area. And then finally, for Christmas, on December 4th, they're having their family fun event, which is doing the Railway of Lights at Lowndes Canyon, picking it up at the Fremont Station. And so, if you want, that's for families, friends, everybody that you want to bring. So more details about that will follow. And we look forward to, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out, and otherwise, I'll make sure you get on any list that you want to, if you want to know about events. Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's good to have friends in high places, and that Avenues of Service event is September 30th, Saturday from 9 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. The cost is $35, and it includes a light breakfast and lunch. So don't hesitate to get involved. And a Rotary fun fact, family fact about Brenda, if you take a look at her, she always wears purple. Mark my words, every single day this woman is adored in purple, and it's lovely. I've come to count on it for a brief moment of joy. Sal Pizarro, come on up and let's talk about what's going on around town.
So you may be hearing some things in the coming days, including in the Mercury News, that there's a poll out apparently that says that people aren't going back to downtowns, including San Francisco, Oakland, and San Jose. And the reason apparently given for San Jose is there's nothing to do. And to which I say, they're wrong, okay? There's plenty to do. There's so much to do that I'm not even gonna tell you everything there is to do in the next few weeks in downtown San Jose, because I can't fit it all in the time allotted. So I apologize in advance if I'm missing your favorite event. Please let me know about anything that you think I might wanna mention in the future for this monthly update. But let me get on to some things that are going on. So you may have noticed, we have a new restaurant in town. It's called Relati. It is across the street from San Jose City Hall on 4th and Santa Clara Street in the bottom of the Miro building there. It is fantastic looking, and my spy on the inside, Linda Zavarol, who's our restaurant writer in San Jose, she ate there last night and said the food matches the decor. It's really good. It's relatively reasonable. Now, of course, as any of us who work or live downtown know, that's a challenging location there on 4th and Santa Clara. So any love you can give this place to try it out would probably be very, very appreciated by them. Some other stuff going on, we've got plenty of theater happening. Toxic at City Lights Theater Company, which is some of you have seen it, I know. It's a really powerful show about the aftermath of school shooting. I'm seeing it this weekend, so we're taking our kids and we're looking forward to hearing their feedback on it. You've got Bald Sisters at San Jose Stage Company, and one of the cool things about this is it's being directed by Jeffrey Lowe, who is one of our former Lee Weimer's Emerging Artist Awards winners. So we're thrilled to see him continuing to do well. You've got Hadestown, which is playing through this weekend at Broadway San Jose at the Center for Performing Arts. And Three Below has a fun one-man show called Rick Iverson is Alive and Well, Living Milpitas. They've got a couple performances left on September 29th and 30th. Some stuff coming up. You've got the big Little Italy Street Festival this Sunday that's going to be filling that entire area. As you know, Poorhouse Bistro just opened there. They've got a bunch of new restaurants in the littlest Little Italy, and I understand they're going to have some great performances and food. Our Sharks, who aren't doing as bad as we thought they might so far. But we'll find out. They open October 12th against Las Vegas at SAP Center. The reason I'm mentioning this is there's usually a big festival, a street festival in front of SAP beforehand. And so if you're a hockey fan or know one, you may want to check that out. And of course, Halloween's coming up sooner than we think, and Pumpkins in the Park starts at Discovery Meadow October 14th. That's from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. It's a fun time to bring out the kids or grandkids, pick out a pumpkin, and just enjoy some old-fashioned agricultural fun. So that's what's going on over the next few weeks. I'll see you guys later.
And hot off the press is actually something exciting. Terry Chapman came to me before the meeting formally started, and she's got 2 tickets to Hadestown, which Sal mentioned, tonight, 7:30 p.m. start. Orchestra row 9 seats 18 and 20. She's unable to use them, so she'd like us to auction them off. Is anybody interested in attending the Performing Arts Center tonight to sit in some wonderful seats and see a live show? Yes, who wants to? Matt, I see you.
I do.
What's that?
I want to see it.
Okay, can we, I don't know how to start the, so good. The face value of each ticket is $79, so we can start the bidding at 100.
100.
Excellent. Who else? There's a lot of demand, I see. Okay, auctioneer, what do I do now? Do I count to 3?
Going once, going twice, sold to Matt Robin for $100.
Excellent.
Yeah!
Thank you so much for your generosity, Terry. That's very kind of you. Just a few presidential updates. I'd like to start by just saying thank you so much to past President Skip Franich and Gary Giannini, I want to say them just right, for hosting and putting together and planning a wonderful past presidents dinner last night at Block Construction. And Mike Block very generously and selflessly opened up his beautiful space so we could all gather, talk about yesteryears, the vision going forward, and just share some camaraderie. I was very privileged to be invited, and thank you for putting that together. It was truly a lot of fun. Now, don't forget, tomorrow we have the Rotary Play Garden event. It's family friendly. It's from 4 to 7 p.m. with informal remarks being made at 5:15. There will be a resource fair as well as boxed lunches for purchase. Please show up, show the support for our 100-year project, and for Mick Greco, who's chairing that committee. It's a lot of fun, and if you haven't been to that playground, you're in for a real treat. Then, of course, one last plug for the International Feast that's going to be on October 6th. Just a reminder, tickets are $65, $50 of which is tax deductible. There's going to be live music, cultural foods, wonderful camaraderie, and Tim Gill told me that it's family friendly. So there will be kids for games? Games for kids, kid-friendly food, but if your child is like my Charlie, she balks at the children's menu now and she orders off the real thing. So we're kind of in that space, but it's going to be a great event. We certainly hope you can join, and there's a table for signups and a flyer on your table. Then we're going to be kicking off the second meeting of the month, the Getting to Know Your Rotarians Better. This is being led by Pat Riley and Doug Smith, and it's an opportunity for us to gather 30 minutes early for those who can at 11:45 a.m., where you'll be randomly assigned to tables and given questions to talk about. So just breaking down some barriers and getting to know each other in a space that's beyond the professional and the community service spirit. We sure hope you will join us. And then we also will be featuring the Rancho Robin Rescue Family Night on October 17th from 5 to 8 p.m. They have a beautiful ranch. I hosted my daughter's birthday party there. Fun animals, lots of open space. Matt will tell us more about this during the announcement next week, but please mark your calendars in advance for that October 17th event, the day before the Lee Weimers meeting, so it should be a great time. And then finally, I'd like to invite Larry Stone up to introduce our speaker. Boo, there it is, boo.
Oh, Larry, not you.
No, not you. He knows he's loved if he's booed loudly, so take it away.
Awkward timing.
Don't boo the sheriff, geez. I've earned it, he hasn't, so. Sheriff Robert Jonsen has been in law enforcement since 1986. Prior to being elected the sheriff of Santa Clara County in 2022, he was the police chief in both the city of Palo Alto and the city of Menlo Park, and spent 27 years in the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department. But before that, there's evidence that he had joined forces with the dark side. And while nobody ever wants proof of hanging around of being a bad guy, the evidence is compelling. Sheriff Jonsen was a Star Wars extra in the routine, The Return of the Jedi. So see the clip.
Get alongside that one.
Our sheriff in the video was being chased by Luke and Princess Leia through the Endor forest. Since dishing the dark side, Sheriff Jonsen has been committed to making positive changes in law enforcement and public safety. He believes that providing his staff with training to live a healthy life, while at the same time serving their communities. He's a certified compassionate civilization training instructor and has facilitated mindfulness to the public safety personnel throughout California. He holds a master's degree in organizational leadership, and he and his staff members have received several Excellence in Public Safety and Community Policing awards. Please join me in welcoming Santa Clara County Sheriff Robert Bob Jonsen.
Well, it's an honor to be here, and sometimes elected officials would say that's all rhetoric, don't believe anything you just saw. But in this case, I can't say that. So actually, I think what would be beneficial, since we're just starting our relationship together, is your newly elected chief or newly elected sheriff. Some people call me chief still, some now sheriff. But the reality is we're at the beginning stages of a relationship that's been probably long overdue for a variety of reasons, and I won't get into all of them. But I do think it'll be a great opportunity to talk a little bit about who I am, what I bring to the organization, the plans I've already put in place, and where I plan on taking the organization to serve our community. But to do that, I think you might want to see just a little more insight to Bob Jonsen. This was put together by the county communications team. Really short introduction. Some of you may have already seen it, but hopefully the video will play. Being the newly elected sheriff of Santa Clara County means the world to me. Who is Bob Jonsen? Inside the organization, somebody deeply committed to this profession, loving it every minute of the day. Morning, Ken.
Hey, morning, Sheriff.
Morning, Dahlia. Morning. I have been in law enforcement for 37 years now, and I'm so humbled by the opportunity to wear tan and green again. My family actually settled here in Santa Clara in the 1850s. You may have heard my great-great-uncle was the sheriff of Santa Clara County in 1887. Very proud to walk the halls, especially because of my great-great-uncle, his picture still being on those walls. So extremely proud moment for me. Bob Jonsen at home is somebody deeply committed to his family. I grew up in the Bay Area, up in Novato, California, and that's where I went to high school, and I played football, wrestled, and boxing. Most people, I would say, do not know or may not know, when I was younger, I did go into acting, and I got a role in Return of the Jedi. That's me right there. And he jumps, he's going to throw me off and into the tree, and that's where my career ended. It was also the realization for me that when you're 19 and all they do is put a helmet over your face, realizing that this mug isn't designed for the big screen. So I moved on and gave up acting. And there I go, again, another crash, career over. Moved down to Los Angeles when I was 19 years old. One thing led to another. Before I knew it, I was applying to the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, where I spent 27 years before becoming the chief of Menlo Park. From there, I transitioned to be the chief of Palo Alto and was there for the past 4.5 years before being elected sheriff of Santa Clara County. Yeah, mindfulness is something that I definitely take with me every day. I think it's really, for me, it's 6 simple words: be fit, be well, be more. But when I say be fit, people are gonna say, well, are you fit? And so if they want a challenge, we'll do it. And so push-ups is something I'm doing quite a bit within the organization and always up for push-up. Listen, I got 2 or 3 of you here. We can just jump down, do push-ups anytime you're ready. 10 good ones, ready? Begin. In my first term, which would be 4 years, I hope to accomplish stabilizing the organization, stop the exodus from this organization, and really recruit and train the best that we can. We want to build our rehabilitation program out, building those community relations that I spoke about, and having community advisory groups put in place. I just think it's important for a leader of an organization, especially in law enforcement, during trying times as we're experiencing the last couple of years, to be there for the organization, each employee within the organization, and also being connected to the community, something I take a lot of pride in. So probably the most frequent question I get asked, hopefully the video gave you a little better insight to who your new sheriff is, but a lot of people have asked, especially because of the controversy that the sheriff's office was under over the last several years, is why? Why would you do this when you've already, well, had a career in LA, Menlo Park, Palo Alto? And it's interesting because my 2 boys, and just for clarification, when you saw the family photos, the little one, that is my grandson, not my son, because that would just cause heart pain to think of one so little right now. But I have the 2 older sons. They're both 36, 34. One lives in Los Angeles still, the other in Austin. And they grew up in this profession because my older son was born 2 weeks before I started the academy. And this is all they've ever known is their dad in law enforcement. And they always thought, just like every other police officer's son or daughter, is, you know, cops always retire at 50. And so they had been born, raised, thinking I would be retired, golfing on the golf course while I was 50 and everything else. And 50 is when I got appointed to Menlo Park as their chief. And my sons both called and said, Dad, what are you doing? This is you're ready to retire. And I'm a couple more years, few issues to address, but then I'm definitely going to retire. 55, I got selected for the chief's job at Palo Alto. They both called and said, Dad, what's up? I thought you were going to retire. Couple more years, couple of things to address. I'll retire soon. 60, I announced I'm running for sheriff. They both called, said, Dad, you're on your own. We'll be on the golf course when you're ready, but we're not standing by any longer. But I get asked that question, why? And to be very upfront and honest with you, without question, I definitely probably should have sought psychological counseling before jumping into that election, that campaign, but I've never been happier, never been more excited about the possibilities, and never been more honored to work around tremendous men and women serving your community. So why the photo of the truck? You know, I bought this truck, it's a 1946 Ford during the pandemic. Thought, hey, we can't do anything, might as well start restoring a truck. And you know, there's a lesson learned with this. Because the reality is, you look at this truck, some of you are looking at it like, no way. I'm not taking on that challenge. Throw it away, leave it on the farm. That's a lot of work, a lot of effort to bring that thing back to life, right? And true, when it came off the tow truck, I looked at it and said, what did I get myself into? Because this is going to be quite the project. But the reality is, with any truck or any old car, like a business, like a company, like a sheriff's office, a lot of people maybe looked at the sheriff's office as like, why bother? It's too broken. You need to just throw it out, start all over again. But what I've really found is, you know, you could take a little sandpaper, shine off the rust, dig deep, open up the hood and look in, and you'll see the parts are there. Yes, some may need to be replaced, but some just need direction, some fine refinement, some tuning. Just like the driver of that truck, this organization needed somebody to take control of the wheel and lead them in the direction we needed to go. And what is on the table in front of you is a 100-day report. To give you an idea how I came into the organization, I felt it was very, very important for the organization to hear from me which direction I wanted to take the organization and really start creating the vision of who the Santa Clara Sheriff's Office is. And that report is also online. But one of the things that was critically important was to stabilize the organization. And we've done that in 9 months. We have really done a good job solidifying the executive team, putting people in place, knowing what they need to do, what I want accomplished, and then setting that out on course. And as I came in, transparency, accountability was very big for me. We have really done a lot of work on that, and I could get into the details, but not in 19 minutes. But the reality is we've become much more transparent, much more accountable just in this short period of time by enhancing our information agreement with our independent auditor that was signed about 2 weeks ago that we presented to Sequin this morning with. So things are in the works, really focusing on the community, getting engaged with the community again, really looking at what's impacting our community and putting strategies together so we can actually go out there and proactively address them. So that report is there, but let me talk a little bit about the transparency piece, because that is a really big issue right now and really has been since police reform. And fortunately, I feel very blessed actually to have been part of that conversation while I was the chief of Palo Alto, because the community wanted reform. Society wanted reform around how police agencies serve their communities. We needed that opportunity to listen, address, implement change, and move forward. And transparency has always been a key driver of that, knowing what your agency is doing for your community. So we've created a transparency portal. It's online now, so if you go to the Sheriff's Office website, there's a whole page for transparency. And there's a portal, and if you go down the About Us, you can scroll down, and also on that same About Us, you'll see a couple of, about four 4 pieces down is the 100-day report. I think it's on there. I don't have my glasses. I think it's on there. But go all the way down and you'll see the transparency portal. Open it up and it'll really give you a lot of information. Probably more than most of you want to read. But state law has required some transparency within law enforcement, really on the big ticket items such as officer-involved shootings. Now that we have body cameras, all that information gets put on the transparency portal when the privacy allows for it. So there's a lot of cases, a lot of incidents that are, all the documents associated with those incidents are on there. But what we also felt was necessary was to let the communities know what we're doing for them as far as calls for service, crime. Crime is a big concern for many members of the community. So we have a page specific for that. We are now putting on our annual statistics. It's very, very comprehensive. And I would probably stack it up to one of the most comprehensive reports available to the public that any agency has. That's how comprehensive and detailed it gets. So as you can see, we not only talk about the crime rates, we're talking about our statistics all the way through, from citations, call response times, use of force, custody statistics. And let me stop there for a moment, because a lot of people have asked me also, what's the difference between a municipality and the sheriff's office? Is it operationally, is it different? It's dramatically different. You got to remember, a municipality, whether you're Los Gatos, Gilroy, Sunnyvale, you have your own municipal law enforcement or public safety entity. They're responsible for law enforcement services in the city. The county is not only responsible for law enforcement services throughout the county, primarily in the unincorporated areas and the contract cities. And for us, we have the contract cities. Anybody from Cupertino? Yay, Cupertino, Saratoga, and Los Altos Hills. Those are our 3 contract cities right now that we provide law enforcement services. But in addition to that, we also have oversight of the correctional facilities. So anytime anyone in the county gets arrested, anywhere, Gilroy, Palo Alto, wherever, those individuals get transported down to our main jail, they get booked into custody. And then we also provide security for the court system. So all the county courts, and we provide security for all the county hospitals. So there's a lot of pieces throughout the county that the sheriff's office is involved in. A lot of that information will now be available on the report. Give you an idea, big picture when it comes to crime. You know, we show our comparison where we are in Santa Clara County compared to the state. And a lot of people say, well, the state's big. I want to know directly what's happening in our area. So we dial it down. And just for the record, this was 22 statistics. You can see we're well below the crime rate. And the crime rate is a mathematical formulation determining how much crime per the population is occurring. So you can really get pretty accurate with your neighborhood, your jurisdiction, wherever it may be. So this is county-wide. We're 12% below the state average for the crime rate, 12-month period, 10% below the property-related crime, and then a couple below the violent crime. And what we also show on that website is really how we're doing within the county. And as you can see, for the areas that we serve, the sheriff's office, we have a pretty darn good track record keeping crime relatively low. Crime is always something where there's an area to improve. So with that, we also get into very specifics on the site of what's happening in our county by the Part 1 crimes. Let me clarify for those that may or may not know, Part 1 crimes are the major crimes, as you can see the list, significant crimes that every agency is required to document and report. So every agency throughout the state reports these crimes. Now, in addition to these crimes, there's multiple other crimes, very low-level crimes, some still significant, but they're just not required to be reported on a statewide level. So this is a number that's very, very consistent. As you can see, we have increases in some areas, decreases in some areas. For me, as a sheriff, these numbers are really important to really dial in where do we need to deploy our resources, what strategies do we need to develop so we can help continue to reduce this. One of the things I did in LA that was part of my background, for 3 years I was responsible as a coordinator of what was referred to as the Antelope Valley Crime Fighting Initiative. It entailed a 1,370 square mile region that required me to reduce crime in all these major Part 1 areas. had to be very specific and strategic about that as we went through. Yeah.
I'm getting some messages.
Feedback?
that people are having trouble hearing you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now? Geez, up here it sounded like I was super loud, so I was trying to back away a little bit. But the reality is, how are we going to address Part 1 crime when it comes to property-related crimes? Property-related crimes right now are probably the #1 concern for most people, especially businesses, the grab and runs, the smash and grabs. Statewide, it's an issue, and Santa Clara County is no different. But I have to say, and you're the first to hear it, and we'll be announcing this through a press release soon, we received the largest allocation within the county to address retail theft. I'm very proud of that. It was through a grant that we had to apply for. We received close to $12 million. As you may have heard, there's other allocations out there. One of the major cities will receive funds, as well as one of the municipalities. But collectively, this will help us tremendously in addressing property-related crimes. I get asked a question on rehabilitation quite a bit. I'm extremely proud of the work we're doing, and as I'm speaking with you today, we're in the process of interviewing 7 extremely qualified candidates, one of which will be our new rehabilitation director, which is something that's going to put tremendous focus on really creating programs for individuals that do get arrested and are incarcerated, and allow them to really move through the system if they so choose while they're connected to a work skill program or educational program. I think I might have enough time, it's going to be really close, but I want to show you this college collaborative. It's a video to kind of give you an idea of what we're doing within our jails.
That's why I didn't come here. Consequence of it. That may happen.
Some seem to think if a person has done something wrong, if the person has violated or committed a crime, well, why is that? They're not smart. That is the furthest thing from the truth. Individuals, if they're given the opportunity, they go above and beyond because they understand and they appreciate the opportunity being provided to them.
I wanted to do community college before I had gotten in here, and I was signed up for it, but clearly I made some bad decisions and got caught up at some point, but I just want to continue my education.
The Community College Collaborative System is a joint venture with a variety of community colleges, from Foothill to San Jose City to Ohlone College, and we work together in offering educational opportunities to students who are currently incarcerated as a means of social justice.
And this is very unique because all colleges in California have specific service areas. And so we're able to collaboratively work together and teach in one facility a lot of different topics and subjects.
I've done 2 horticulture classes, I've done the communication class, I'm in automotive. It's kept me a lot more positive and just looking ahead.
I remember when we first started, we had 4 to 5 classes and now, college classes, and now we're about almost, I think we're approaching 48. And ready to, by spring, we'll have over 50 something. And then now Main Jail has college courses going on now, and expanding those services there.
We provide access to students to enter our pathways, whether they're in our career education pathways, where they can obtain short-term certificates and even obtain a degree.
Or if they get released out of custody, they can continue those college courses and classes on the outside on a college of their choosing.
What we do for these individuals in here will help them make positive decisions in their lives. When they're making positive decisions in their lives and changing their lives and believing in something, they have hope for themselves, allows them not to come back and do, recidivate, not to go out there and make those choices to commit those crimes that really impact us from a safety standpoint, really impact the public. But in the same aspect, it's a rehabilitative approach. We're a community that looks to empower people and the betterment of people. We're a community of second chances. And through second chances, that giving them that education, it benefits us in that way as well. It increases their opportunities to be able to change their lives and our belief in them.
I've been in and out of prisons half my life, and
it's time that I've changed. I've got a new narrative for my life today because of these classes.
It's given me meaning, honestly. Before, I would sit idly, I would exercise occasionally, but this has brought structure. It has given me something to look forward to. I am looking forward to anything else they throw in my direction.
So I know we are coming to the end of this, and I just want to wrap it up. I have made it publicly clear that my intent is to create a division within our correctional facilities that actually gives everyone the opportunity to actually graduate out of incarceration rather than just being released from incarceration. So that's our hope, that's the direction. I have high aspirations, but I know we can accomplish it so we can better serve this community. The last thing I will say, and then I'll wrap it up for questions, I think, is we are always hiring. We're on a very big initiative right now, a 30-30 bike campaign, which is really trying to recruit 30% of the workforce being made up of women by the year 2030. It's a law enforcement initiative I'm proud to be part of. So with that, I think I'll open it up for a few questions. Yeah?
You get 10 minutes worth of questions.
10 minutes.
And I've had some arrive via text, so we'll go with those first. And I'll be calling on people who have not asked a question in a very long time first, so we hope to get to all of you. So, Gay Crawford said, to the point that companies are closing and leaving the area like Target, what can we as citizens do? I met a woman who worked at the Cupertino Target and said she didn't feel safe. Her follow-up was, maybe you answered this question by talking about the grant, but can you talk more fully about how those funds will be used, please?
Yeah, the grants are definitely going to help us. What I have found throughout my career is high visibility and presence makes all the difference in the world, right? And every agency is suffering from staffing. This is going to help us because we're going to be able to have more visibility, whether through a dedicated team or through overtime, but it won't be coming out of general funds, and that's a huge benefit.
Very good. Arthur, I'm going to ask a few other people before I come back to you, since you are so generously always involved. Dr. Mann, can we get him a microphone, please? And I see you too, Ed. We'll come to you next.
Thank you, President Karan, for the opportunity. Thank you, Sheriff, for your wonderful presentation. In my home country, India, where police officers frequently experience political interference, could you describe a specific challenge related to political interference that you have encountered during your career and share how you effectively managed and addressed that situation? Thank you so much. And I would like to invite you. Recently, our government of India has appointed a police reform commission. I would love to invite you as a volunteer for that commission to give you recommendations. Thank you so much.
No, I apologize. I didn't hear the first part of the question, but I definitely would be open to meeting and having an invitation to have continue a conversation. Was it about the well-being? Right, so that goes really to the mindfulness, right? And one of the things that we're working on in the political dynamics right now with law enforcement is really building a resilient workforce. So it's a program, and actually I think we have a couple individuals that have participated in that program, but it's something we're bringing into our workforce, the sheriff's office. And we're also bringing in that resiliency into the incarceration environment. I think that's really important to have, because being in jail is stressful enough. So I think helping them mitigate their stress will help us all at the end of the road. So thank you.
Thank you for being here, Sheriff. At my company, I often see that problems start with little ripples. Little things get going, and then pretty soon we have a wave and it can become a tsunami. Does the county subscribe to the belief that a lot of the craziness on the roads, the graffiti, the garbage, this and that are higher crimes, you talked about that, the prime ones, that they come from that?
Yeah, no, without question. I think, we've all seen it, this progression over the last several years, is the state has reduced the accountability factor with a lot of the major crimes. We're starting to see that play out more and more often. For example, perfect example, you know, if somebody was in possession of a class 1 narcotic pre-Prop 47, if they get arrested or detained for that, they would actually go to jail. Now that's a citation, depending on how you feel about that. But the person, we're not helping stabilize the individual so they continue with the addiction, which the addiction, to fuel the addiction, sometimes is connected to the lower level crimes of theft to pay for the addiction. So we have to have the mechanisms in place to stabilize individuals, and sometimes that's the accountability piece.
Very good. And I do see you here, but we've got the microphone with Barbara right now. So if you could make the microphone this way next. Barbara, please.
Thank you, and thank you, Sheriff. I'm sure we all remember a few years ago the tragic murder of an inmate in the jail, and the investigations and task forces that came up after that turned up so many problems that had been endemic. I know there was some progress made before you came in, but what kinds of changes have you had to make in the jails to bring them up to a civil standard?
Yeah, quite a few in a very short period of time. Maybe for another meeting, it's a presentation in itself of all the things that have been put in place. It's very comprehensive, in fact. You know, setting expectations and making sure processes are efficient make all the difference in the world. And I think setting expectations, I made very clear from the very beginning. I met with all the various units, both in corrections and in the field and everywhere else. But setting that expectation that it all starts with respect. But with that will come accountability if the officers or the employees choose not to interact with others with respect. And we have put in some very solid accountability pieces. As I mentioned, we now have an enhanced information sharing agreement with our outside auditor, who will now review all those and provide recommendations. And as you may or may not have heard, we just had 17 incidents reviewed by the auditor on the use of clear out in the jails. And again, depending on how you feel about that, but my point of bringing it to your attention, find me another sheriff's office that would allow an outside auditor access to such comprehensive information. And when you read the report, the auditor was very clear, hey, whether you agree with the chemical or not, the process, the planning, the accountability, the adherence to policy was extremely professional. And that's all I can ask my organization, is that they follow policies, practices, and protocols.
And that you set the example for doing so. We're so glad you didn't retire and listen to your sons. Yes.
Sheriff Jonsen, I'm a big walker, and I've never in my life seen such blatant disregard for stop signs, speed limits, and I don't understand why it seems like there's no traffic enforcement any longer. Why is that?
Yeah, so traffic enforcement, again, a lot of the traffic units that agencies have, you know, for example, we still have traffic motor units, City of Cupertino, but a lot of municipalities, even in Palo Alto, when budget reductions occurred in staffing, those were the first to go, right? And that's problematic because, again, what we saw, you saw this vortex of things happening, especially during the pandemic, fewer people on the road, more recklessness on the road, and not as much enforcement. And now here we are, we're out of that a little bit, but people are still driving extremely recklessly, but we need to amp up the enforcement. And for those agencies that can do it, some are starting to build back those traffic units, because I think, again, visibility is very, I slow down when I see a cop on the side of the road.
And I'm guessing you could get out of a ticket.
I'm not saying I can or can't, I'm just saying I psychologically slow down.
Well, I have a fear of authority, so I agree. Matt Robin, then Fernando, then Arthur. Matt.
Hi, Sheriff. Thank you for the great presentation. I was a police officer for 4 years in Chicago, and one of the biggest questions I always got asked was, you know, how do we stop the crime? And my question to you is, how are you seeing the program that is pretty new in the jails? Are you seeing a reduction in people coming back to jail? Is it affecting the recidivism rates? Because to me, that's the most important part.
Right, so that's a great question. I was asked it this morning at another meeting, and we're still building that piece out, because we pretty much, when I say we, the sheriff's office now, they pretty much stopped a lot of those programs during the pandemic because we couldn't have people coming into the jails. So we really just started these back up at late 2021,
And now that's the direction I've given, and now that will fall under the director's responsibility, is start to truly tracking the effectiveness of these programs. But what I will tell you is this: when I attend these graduations of people that have just completed a program, I see the excitement. They're proud. They accomplished something they never had access to. They have enthusiasm, and they want to bring back that to their family. And that's what I want to build, is giving them that opportunity, that second chance, to go back out with this new learned skill or education and apply it and start being a productive member of the community. So we will start reporting out on that probably at the end of 2024. I'll give the new director a year to get it dialed in, but then we'll start releasing some of that information, hopefully.
What a wonderful ladder of economic and social opportunity that you're providing. Fernando.
Thank you. Sheriff, 87% of the country is in a mental health crisis, according to the newspaper today.
Right.
And I wonder what kind of training your deputies get to recognize and to deal with those individuals that they encounter who might be having a mental health issue.
Yeah, great question. That's something, as you heard from Larry, I'm certified through Stanford C-Care program, compassion cultivation training. Developed a program for public safety. It's certified through POST. It's called Courageous Hearts, the Human Buying Badge. I think our lovely couple here is attending it. But it's designed for the workforce resiliency and not only the mindfulness of what we deal with each and every day, but handling the trauma. One of the things they've heard me say is that that's a recent number that came out for the population. The reality is 1 out of every 3 Americans experiences chronic stress on a daily basis. So if you're wondering where you fall, just look to your right, look to your left. And if they look relaxed, then it's probably telling you you're in.
President Karen, thank you for saving the best for last.
Absolutely.
Sheriff, correct me if I'm wrong, but my impression is the jails are totally inequipped to deal with COVID and disease. And that one of the reasons judges and other people do not want to send people who've committed low-level crimes to jail is because of the health problem. And so you've got a lot of people on the street who've committed minor offenses, and nobody wants to put them in jail, and certainly not for a long time, because the jails aren't equipped to deal with it.
Right, and that's very true. I mean, we saw our greatest reduction in population during the pandemic, really to release that probability of coming down with the COVID, because the jails aren't designed for that kind of movement or separation. They're condensed, right? But one of the things we're working on today, and really working on, is again, to offer those judges an opportunity. If there's somebody they know that really needs to be stabilized, rather than constantly churning through the system, let's build a program to stabilize them, whether it's an incarcerated program or non-incarcerated. I know we have a lot of those in our community, but some people actually need a little more structure to get stable, and that's one of the things I want to try to build as well.
Thank you, Sheriff. We've made a donation to Loaves and Fishes in your honor for today's presentation.
Oh, thank you. That's very
Don't forget to join us next week for our speaker from Christmas in the Park, Debbie DeGudas. And a reminder that every year for the last 9 years, I host a Christmas in the Park event at my home at the 88. We have lots of free-flowing wine and goodies, and then we walk over and we tour Christmas in the Park. So mark your calendars now for December 14th. And in my final thoughts, please indulge me and arrive 5 minutes early next week so we can start at 12:10 p.m. We have a rich and full agenda full of very exciting announcements, award bestowing, and other fun things. We will also be featuring sweet treats from our own Lindley Zink's Little Bites Bakery, so you won't want to miss that. And in my final thought for the day, allow yourself the things you need right now, whether it's space, rest, support, or something else, and know that you are not a burden for taking care of yourself. Have a great week. We'll see you next Wednesday.